All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Friday to you. Today is Friday, July 2nd, 2021, and this is your PTE News Break. Hello, and welcome to everybody in the chat. It is so good to have you. Man, we have so much to cover this week. Almost everything is a top story. Sometimes you have top stories, then kind of like mid stories. You know what I mean? This week, I feel like almost everything is a top story. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you. I hope your week has gone as good as it can go. All right, let's get started. So, first things first. So, earlier this week, we heard rumblings of this that tax related charges were set to be brought against the Trump organization. And I remember when I first heard this, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, right, nothing ever happens to these people. Well, on Thursday, the Trump organization and its top executive were charged with financial crimes. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office filed charges against the former president's business on Thursday. I said, oh, it's getting real. The Trump Organization, a group of hundreds of business entities owned by former President Donald Trump and its chief financial officer, were charged Thursday with engaging in a money-making scheme to defraud city, state, and federal tax authorities. The Manhattan District Attorney's charges against the company and its CFO, Alan Weisselberg, who was led into court in handcuffs, include scheme conspiracy, grand larceny, criminal tax fraud, and falsifying business records. Both parties pleaded not guilty on all charges. Weisselberg has worked for the Trump family since the 1970s. Weisselberg and the company are accused of defrauding tax authorities in order to heavily compensate certain beneficiaries at the company, including Weisselberg himself. The purpose of the scheme was to compensate Weisselberg and other Trump Organization executives in a manner that was off the books. The beneficiaries of the scheme received substantial portions of their income through indirect and disguised means, with compensation that was unreported or misreported by the Trump Organization to tax authorities, the indictment read. The scheme was intended to allow certain employees to substantially understate their compensation from the Trump Organization so that they could and did pay federal, state, and local taxes in amounts that were significantly less than the amounts that should have been paid. So, in other words, guys, if Trump was paying them, or if the organization was paying them $100,000, they were reporting like they made like $40,000. So they only had to pay taxes on like $40,000. I'm just throwing these numbers out there. Obviously, they'd be much higher. And then the higher you go, the worse it gets. So if you're being compensated, say, I don't know, $500,000 a year, but you only report $100,000, you're only being taxed on $100,000. So often these are the same people who say that people need to stop complaining, get up, go back to work, get a job. But almost all of the money that they make is ill-begotten. So it's like they really don't have a leg to stand on. And I'm not saying this about all rich people. Some people did earn their money. But a lot of people like this, especially the ones who have been rich for a long time, if this past week hasn't taught you anything, it should have taught you that these people really don't truly know how to run businesses. They really don't. They are very, very good at propping them up. I will give them kudos for that. They can prop a business up, but as far as keeping it going on a day-to-day basis, they can't do it. So for them to be rich on a year-by-year basis, something funny is going on behind the scenes. And this is just one example of that. You report that you make $50,000 when you really make $150,000. So you only have to pay taxes on $50,000. You see? It says the former president, It says Trump himself was not indicted Thursday, but the charges leveled against his business could have far-reaching effects on the company. The New York Times notes the fallout from the indictment could affect his relationships with banks and business partners, as well as any future bid for the political office. The former president told the publication the charges were a terrible thing for our country, adding that Weisselberg was a very good man who had been treated horribly, of course. New York District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. has said Trump will remain a focus of prosecutors' investigation, adding that the work continues. The DA's office has been investigating Trump's business, which includes real estate, hotels, golf courses, and dozens of other ventures for the past 2 years for various financial misdeeds, including falsifying business records, insurance fraud, and tax fraud. Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest. But God bless the people who just don't let go, because I gotta be honest. The less I hear about this man, the less I think about him. And it feels great. I've compared it to breaking up with a really, really bad boyfriend, where it was so bad that you actually you remember that you haven't thought about them for a while. So you're like, wow, I haven't thought about that person in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? That's how bad it was. That's kind of how I felt about this man. So him not being in the news cycle every day has been fantastic. And then I forget that I haven't thought about him for months. So, but I say that to say, thank God that there are people who think about it every day, who wake up in the morning with a bone to pick and a fish to fry. And they are not going to let go until they get their man or till they get their case. You know what I mean? Those career making cases. We keep talking about those. So we'll keep an eye on this. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it's so messed up that almost everybody associated with this man ends up going to jail. Hey, everybody in the chat, and welcome. Almost everybody in this man's presence or in his immediate circle ends up in some FBI office somewhere at some point in time. Like, you just have to know that that's going to happen. You have to know that if you're affiliated with this man. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. Let's move on. All right. So in one of the more controversial stories that broke this week, Bill Cosby has been freed from prison. His sex conviction overturned. This stream will not be monetized because a lot of our stories are like, well, not a lot, but there's this one and there's another one that has to kind of sort of deal with this. So I'm just going to read it because it's not going to be monetized. But if anyone wants to know how I feel about this, I'm not happy about it. If you've been with the channel for any length of time, I covered this back when it all first happened. I don't know what year that was, maybe 2018, something like that. And I had taken the video, I put it on private or unlisted because YouTube demonetized that one and it pissed me off. But I took it off of unlisted. It's public again. If you're interested in my thoughts at the time regarding this case, they haven't changed, I'm sure. I haven't listened to it, but I'm sure my thoughts haven't changed. So Bill Cosby was released. I know a lot of people are very, very happy about this. I know you are. And then there's a lot of people like me who are unhappy about it. And the main reason that I'm unhappy about it is, number one, he all but confessed, did he not? He got released on a technicality of the case. Basically, a prosecutor promised him years ago that if he gave this particular testimony, he would not be prosecuted. So he gave this testimony on the premise that he would not be prosecuted. I don't know if testimony is the right word. We're going to read it here in a second. And then they turned around and prosecuted him. So the premise is you can't do that to a person. You can't trick them out of a testimony, basically. But my position, and I understand what they're saying from the legal perspective, but my whole thing is it's almost like somebody confessing to murder. Yeah, I killed those people, and that you tricked them out of a confession, which I get that you can't do, but does that make them any less a murderer? Does it? Then what this has done to the mindset of men who already don't believe women out the gate, it doesn't matter if there's like surveillance camera proof. They just simply do not believe her because she's a woman. This has done nothing but make them feel justified, make them feel like they were right, and make them feel like all women are lying in regard to this issue. And that's the issue. It's the message that it sends. You know what I mean? How many survivors are going to want to come forward now I mean, he got convicted. He went to jail for 3 years. That means nothing. And then here's my other question. Where was all this information on the front end? Was this information not available on the front end? How did it just pop out all of a sudden? It feels a little psyop-y to me, but we're not on the right channel for that. But this feels psyop-y to me. It really does. So y'all just now remembered, oh yeah, that prosecutor promise. And since when does an undocumented prosecutor's promise free somebody? I just, And one more thought, and then we'll read the article. The same men who are celebrating the release of Cosby are adamant that Weinstein should stay in jail. When I bring it up to them, when I have the debate, when I'm arguing with them, I'm like, well, we might as well go ahead and free Harvey too. Free Harvey. And they go, oh, no. Weinstein needs to be in jail. I'm like, really? Why is that? Oh, well, he did it. I'm like, really? Why is that? Well, I mean, he did it for sure, but Cosby didn't do it. Oh, really? Now, why is that? What's the difference? Two men, both right about the same age, both right about the same money, both Hollywood men. One of these things is not like the other. What's the difference? I'm curious why Cosby is innocent, automatically innocent, but Weinstein is guilty, right? Why is that? I wonder. It's probably related to what I've been telling you guys, the whole no such thing. Remember what I told you about no such thing? There's no such thing. Let's read. And I'm sorry if that's upsetting to some of you guys, but you have to understand how, as a woman, how upsetting it is to just know that if anything happens to me, I will automatically be blamed. I won't be believed. And the man will probably be believed over me, even though their argument is it's the exact opposite. If this is not proof that men are believed more often than women, I don't know what is. So ladies, you have to wake up. Like, honestly, it's time to starve them to death. And what I mean by that is don't go where they are. Don't go to the clubs. Don't go to the parties. Don't go anywhere that they are. Don't go where they are. Starve them to death. Dry them up and dry them out. I want them all to start showing up to these parties and it's nothing but them there. All guys, all men. That's what I want. I want it to get to the point where they have to pay women to show up to events. Like they basically have to bribe women to come to events because this is ridiculous. So let's read. Pennsylvania's highest court threw out Bill Cosby's sexual assault conviction and released him from prison Wednesday in a stunning reversal of fortune for the comedian once known as America's Dad, ruling that the prosecutor who brought the case was bound by his predecessor's agreement not to charge Cosby. Wow. Cosby, 83, flashed the V for Victory sign to a helicopter overhead as he trudged into his suburban Philadelphia home after serving nearly 3 years of a 3 to 10-year sentence for drugging and violating Temple University sports administrator Andrea Constand in 2004. The former Cosby Show star, the first celebrity tried and convicted in the Me Too era, had no comment as he arrived and just smiled and nodded later at a news conference outside where his lawyer, Jennifer Bonjon, said, "We are thrilled to have Mr. Cosby home. He served 3 years of an unjust sentence, and he did it with dignity and principle." In a statement, Constand and her lawyers called the ruling disappointing, and they, like many other advocates, expressed fear that it could discourage sexual assault victims from coming forward. "We urge all victims to have their voices heard," they added. Cosby was arrested in 2015 when a district attorney armed with newly unsealed evidence, the comic's damaging deposition in a lawsuit brought by Constand, filed charges against him just days before the 12-year statute of limitations was about to run out. But the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said Wednesday that District Attorney Kevin Steele, who made the decision to arrest Cosby, was obligated to stand by his predecessor's promise not to charge Cosby, though there was no evidence that the agreement was ever put in writing. A verbal agreement, you guys, a verbal agreement that may or may not have actually happened. Since when? Like, since when? Justice David Wecht, writing for a split court, said Cosby had relied on the previous district attorney's decision not to charge him when the comedian gave his potentially incriminating testimony in Constan's civil case. The court called Cosby's subsequent arrest an affront to fundamental fairness, particularly when it results in a criminal prosecution that was foregone for more than a decade. It said justice and fair play and decency require that the district attorney's office stand by the decision of the previous DA. The justices said that overturning the conviction and barring any further prosecution is the only remedy that comports with society's reasonable expectation of its elected prosecutors and our criminal justice system. Cosby was promptly set free from the state prison in suburban Montgomery County and driven home. Okay. So the rest is like feel good stuff. So I'm not going to read the rest. But, this is where we are, you guys. Listen, I don't have anything against Bill Cosby, the entity. You know what I mean? I'm not as attached to the Cosby Show because I really didn't watch it growing up. So I don't have the same emotional connection that everyone else has. If this were a white man, I would feel the same way. I just want you guys to know that. But I think people have a tough time, especially those with the emotional connection, have a tough time imagining Cosby doing this. And as a woman, I'm telling you, it's more common than you realize. I cannot tell you how many circumstances have suddenly shifted. So, for example, you call to get your cable hooked up because you just moved into a new apartment or wherever. And the cable guy shows up and he's friendly and professional and all that, right? Comes in, starts, get to work. You might go to another part of the apartment. You might stay in the living room, whatever, wherever you go, right? But you have to kind of chit chat with these people. So before you know it, the conversation has gone from, hi, ma'am, I'm here to install the, 3 series cable package to, so you got a man, you got a boyfriend, where your man at? It gets creepy quick. Y'all don't realize it. And if you're not a person who dates men, you'll never know because they're not going to tell you how creepy they are. Your best friend is not going to tell you how creepy he is and how he creeps on women and how it can happen in a split second because everyone wants to blame us, right? But let's say you're at work. This is all pre-COVID, of course, when people were actually going into offices. Let's say you're just working and it's 5 and then suddenly it's 6 p.m., but you're still working. Then your coworker comes down from the 3rd floor. He's chit-chatting about work and the weather and whatever. Then all of a sudden he wants to show you a picture of his penis. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, it comes out of nowhere sometimes, you guys. We can't always prep for it. We can't always avoid it. We don't even always see it coming. Again, weather, sports, work. Here's a picture of my dick. And then back to weather, sports, and work. And it's like, what are you supposed, you like in that moment, you become frozen. Like, what are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? And then if this person is a nice guy and liked by many different people, well, what's the point of reporting that? What's the point? He's a nice guy. Everybody likes him. Nobody would even believe you that he just flashed you a picture of his penis. Nobody would believe that. And they know that. And they creep around like that. That's how they get away with almost everything. It's the perfect facade. Nice guy, family man, sports, weather, work. Here's a picture of my dick. Sports, weather, work. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? That's how it goes. Any women in the chat can testify to that. And it's not always something that you see coming. Hush, puppy. See, y'all got my puppy upset. Sometimes it's a situation where, let's say you get invited over for Thanksgiving dinner and it's, it's not like a family thing. It's like friends your age thing. So you're there with people that you know well, and then they invite one of their friends who you've never met. So you're on the back porch, maybe having a drink, just sitting, enjoying the weather. Next thing you know, this friend comes and creeps on you at your friend's house with everybody there. It's just you and him, basically trapped on the porch. He's not going to do anything to you with all these people here. But the point is, it's very easy for a woman to get cornered and trapped in situations that we don't always see it coming. We don't always see that stuff coming. Puppy, it's okay. Y'all got my puppy upset. We don't always see it coming. We can't always plan for it. And what are we supposed to do? Just stay home with a blanket over our head and never go anywhere because anywhere is eligible to get creeped on and creeped up on and creeped out on? I've gotten creeped out on getting my car back from getting an oil change. You know, hey, ma'am, here's your car. Here's your receipt. Everything looks good. This is what we did. This is what we did. So, dang, where's your man at? It's like, ugh, God, you're so creepy and disgusting and weird. It makes me want to hire somebody. Makes me want to hire a guy to just go places with me. So they won't do that. But guess what would happen eventually? After a day, spending a day with me, pretending to be my boyfriend, eventually it will become, so you want me to be your boyfriend tonight? Get out of my car. Get out of my car. Get out of my face. All right. And just in case you don't believe me or you all have a poor memory, let's never forget. Let's never forget this here. Okay.
Spanish fly was the thing that all boys from age 11 on up to death, we will still be searching for Spanish fly. And what was the old story was, if you took a little drop, it was on the head of the pin, and you put it in the drink. It doesn't make it, and the girl was drinking, and she said, "Hello, America."
Yeah, hello, America. Let's never forget that, okay? Never forget that he went on Larry King in 1991 and was laughing and giggling about putting Spanish fly in women's drinks. I'm assuming without their knowledge, okay? So never forget. It's not that I want to shame this man's legacy. It's that I want more. I want better for our legacies. Why do we always have to do this? When we finally break through the doors, we finally get in there, get the money, get the success, get the fame. The first thing we do is go creeping on people. Why? I told you if I ever had money like that, you would never see me. You wouldn't be able to accuse me of anything because I wouldn't be on the scene like that. Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand how you waste your blessing like that. I really don't. It's totally beyond me. But speaking of sexual abuse survivors, yeah. Speaking of, the Boy Scouts of America reaches a historic settlement with sexual abuse survivors. This was published, well, it was updated today. It says the Boy Scouts of America has reached an $850 million settlement with more than 60,000 men who sued the iconic institution over alleged sexual abuse by adults in scouting over several decades. The agreement announced on Thursday is the first legal settlement in a long list of lawsuits against the Boy Scouts, which filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in February 2020. Ken Rothweiler, one of three lead negotiators on behalf of the men who say they were, you know what? I'm sorry. This is the world we're living in, who say that they were raped, molested, or sexually harassed as children, called it historic. In an email statement, he called the deal the largest settlement of sexual abuse claims in United States history. It's more than double the group's initial proposal to victims. Under the terms of the agreement, local councils are expected to contribute to the settlement fund. Court documents state they are required to pay at least $300 million. Another aspect of the deal requires non-monetary commitments to abuse victims, including youth protection measures, a reporting system, formation of a child protection committee, and information sharing related to abuse claims. Y'all need to disband this organization. I think it's done. I think when you have that many claims, 60,000 men, and imagine what happened to these guys as they grew up. Imagine what happened to them and who they became. And I'm not trying to cast a negative light on abuse survivors. I'm just saying, what type of man would that create? A young man who was put into this organization that has all the best intentions, and you walked away abused as a young man. Could it possibly be contributing to this rise of the incels and the MGTOWs and this dangerously toxic ideology that's floating around? Could this have something to do with it? It has to be a factor. 60,000. It says Rothweiler and his law firm represent more than 16,000 alleged victims of the abuse, much of which was chronicled and recorded in an internal list of leaders preying on boys called the Perversion Files, dating back to the 1940s. I am pleased that both the BSA and their local councils have stepped up to be the first to compensate the survivors, but another attorney called it a rotten chump deal. Tim Kosnoff, who actually partnered with Rothweiler and his firm, as well as ABA Law, is livid over the announced deal, which he notes is not final until a judge signs off on it. I don't know how you can characterize this as anything but a failure, adding that he only learned about the agreement after it appeared in a news report. Okay, so he must be on the other people's side. I don't know. He's upset because he's saying that each of the clients would only get between $35,000 to $5,000. But then later in the article, it says they would all walk away with about $10,000 apiece. So, which is not enough, truly. It says the group's total assets top $1 billion and include massive tracts of land around the country, extensive holdings and financial investments and fine art valued at $59 million, according to court documents. Sell it all, liquidate it all, disband this organization. Probably was about this from day one. And I hate to say that that's alleged. I'm just saying that many, let me see here, because they're in all 50 states, right? So there's 60,000 claimants total, and that's just who came forward. All right. I'm sure there are more who just couldn't bring themselves to come forward. So that's at least 1,200 boys per state. If we were just going to average it out across all 50 states, at least 1,200 boys and young men per state. If your child is in the Boy Scouts of America, I would snatch them out immediately. And Girl Scouts too, snatch them out of there too. Oh my God, it goes back to, did I just read that? Dating back to the 40s? Hold on. Sometimes I read, but I don't process what I'm actually reading. Hold on. I did just read that. Yeah. A list of leaders preying on the boys called the Perversion Files, dating back to the 1940s. Good Lord. No wonder our society is so messed up. This has been going on forever. And now all those from the 40s, the boys from the 40s are in their 70s now, for the most part, approaching 80. So yeah, $850 million for this settlement. So again, I get upset about things like this, even though Cosby is accused of, violating grown women. It doesn't really matter to me. Like, it's a mindset issue, because the same mindset that enables him to allegedly violate grown women and drug their drinks is the same mindset that would enable a grown man to violate these boys. It's the same thing. Same spirit, same energy, all that, just different victims. That's all. So I get very, very upset about this. I really do. Whew. Again, every story this week is like top story. All right. So in our other top story, let's just do a bit of an update on this collapse. Y'all, this has been on my mind heavy. I don't know about you guys, but this has really been on my mind since it happened. I follow it all day long, just looking for little updates here and there. Might do a show on a deeper PTE. Won't be tonight because I actually have to run to the grocery store when I'm done here. But maybe tomorrow, just to sort through some thoughts I'm having and give you guys an opportunity to sort through your thoughts as well. But I don't like this. And one of the main thoughts that I've been having is, I think as people and as a society, we've prepped ourselves for pretty much every disaster that could happen, right? I think we've all prepped ourselves mentally for a mass shooting. I think we've all mentally prepped for a tragedy like, God forbid, a plane crash. It happens, right? I think we've all prepped for a car crash. I think mentally we prep for pretty much a storm. We prep for a storm mentally, like a hurricane, tornado, even an earthquake. I think mentally we prep we've prepped for those things. Like we know they can happen, they have happened before. We're prepared for the potentiality, if that makes sense. I don't think anyone has ever meant, oh, and even a terrorist attack. I think mentally we've all kind of prepped for the potentiality of a terrorist attack that could take down a building, right? We've all made mental space and preps and made our peace, if there's any peace to be made with those things. I think we've all made our peace with those things. We've had a lifetime to worry about them. You see what I mean? This is new. Like, this is a new thing that I don't think has been on anybody's mind. Anybody's. Like, it's a new concern now. And those employers who had trouble getting their people to come back to the office, if your office is in a high rise, I guarantee you those people aren't coming back to the office now. Not without documents. I said on Twitter, and I know it sounds funny, and I really didn't mean it to be funny or funny sounding, but I kind of mean it. You know how they have Carfax if you're going to buy a used car? They need to develop, some app developer needs to hop on this right away. And I don't know what trendy or hot name you would call it, but just for lack of a better name, you could call it building facts. You know what I mean? Build facts. I don't know. Structure facts. I don't know. Struck facts. I don't know. Something like that. But something to where when you're about to walk into a building, pretty much of any kind, you can pull up that building's Carfax and be like, okay, this building was last inspected on this date. These were the issues that were found. These were the actions that were taken. These are the actions that are pending. You know what I mean? I feel like we have a right to know. Like, this is new. This is different. This is very, very different. And I just know I've been in some shady buildings, man. Oh, man. Like, I think about all the parking decks I've been in, all the parking garages, the underground parking garages. Look, let me stop. If I'm going to do this particular brand of paranoia, I'll do it on my other channel. Okay. For those of you who can handle it, because I do not want to install paranoia in you. I really don't. Skyfax, 80 miles. My heart. You're after my heart, my very heart. Skyfax. I love it. Skyfax. And then in the, here, I'll display it real quick so everybody can see. Perfect. Somebody hop on it. Skyfax. Okay, sure. I'll come for your interview. You're on the 12th floor, eh? Okay, perfect. Let me check my Skyfax really quick to see if I'm coming in this building. I love it. Copyright it before somebody takes it. I'm not going to take it. I don't have the energy to do these things, which is why I release these ideas freely. I don't have time. I don't have the time or the people to do that kind of stuff. But let's take a look. Let's just get an update. And then there's a few other things I wanted to show and share regarding this. I think I've refreshed this like 3 times, but we'll do it again. So 3 additional victims have been found. Sensitivity warning, by the way. Actually, let's read over here. It says at least 22 people are confirmed dead. 126 people are still unaccounted for. Search and rescue efforts continue, but the operation faces additional challenges with the rest of the building threatening to collapse. The cause of the collapse is still unknown, but a letter sent months before the deadly collapse warned that damage to the building was accelerating after a 2018 report raised concerns. Okay. So with that, the identities of 3 additional victims have been released. Probably one of the saddest stories to come out of this is a 7-year-old girl was recovered, and she was the child of one of the firefighters who was working at the scene. So basically, he recovered his own daughter, which I'm sure he wouldn't have had it any other way. But how sad, how very sad. And that's probably who he was looking for the whole entire time. Wouldn't you be? But he recovered his own child. A concrete company said it did not initiate repairs on the collapsed condo in 2020. So basically, I read this earlier. They went out and they did the survey. They let them know, but the work never started. And I think it's because at the time, yeah, it says the recertification project was out to bid with multiple contractors at the time of the tragedy. So just because a company tells you, hey, your building is in bad shape, you need to do something like tomorrow, or excuse me, you need to do something like yesterday, doesn't mean that they actually have to take action and do something. These are not legal entities. These are private contractors who go out and do this kind of stuff. So they don't have to do it just because the people said, hey, you're in bad shape. Although I do believe they probably will be, some accountability will be pointed in their direction for not making it more clear how bad a shape the building was in. But I think what happened was the same error a lot of people make in a lot of different areas of life, which is, well, that's never happened before, so surely it will never happen, right? We've never just had a building go down without an explained cause, an airplane, a fire, something like that. So because it's never just randomly fallen from being old, surely it'll never happen. And that is such an error of reasoning. So how can they sound the alarm on something that's never happened before? How can they say to these people, hey, you guys might all want to move out of here. This building needs to, I guess that's how you say it. This building needs to be condemned. So the fact that they didn't condemn it, I don't think they can, though. Doesn't the city have to condemn a building? Anyway, COVID is starting to spread among search and rescuers. A different condominium building has been ordered for the immediate closure of it. So let's read this really quick. It says, based on a late recertification report submitted to the city of North Miami Beach today, the city determined a Crestview Towers condo building is unsafe and ordered the immediate evacuation and closure of the building. The city ordered the immediate closure for unsafe structural and electrical conditions following the tragic collapse of Champlain Towers in Surfside last week, which launched a review by North Miami Beach of all high-rise condo buildings above 5 stories. Crestview Towers submitted a recertification report dated January 11th, in which an engineer attained by the association concluded that the building was structurally and electrically unsafe. The towers were built in 1972, and the building should have been in its 40-year recertification process, but they had not been in compliance. So basically, the same thing that should have happened to Champlain Towers, it should have been condemned and ordered for the immediate evacuation, has happened to another building in North Miami now. And it's probably going to happen all over, which tells us that, like, I don't want to seem insensitive and cast too much judgment, but this is what we've been talking about pretty much since this channel started, which is, and I'm not saying the residents are narcissists. I'm not name calling. What I'm saying is this is the end result of narcissistic behavior. The tendency to ignore problems until it's too late. I literally have a video called Narcissists Eventually Implode. And I was talking about different things in that video, but the principle remains the same. And how ironic for a title, right? Narcissists Eventually Implode. This is the end result of careless, of sweeping things under the rug. This is the end result of chasing people out of your organization who are trying to tell you the truth, who are trying to send up the red flag of warning. I don't think it's in any of the articles that I'm going to show you here, but I read somewhere that even the janitors had warned them about different defects. And I can't help but feel like the janitors were probably of a certain ethnicity. And I'm just assuming, and even if they weren't, it doesn't matter. Ethnicity, sometimes people look down on you just because of the job that you have. So even if the janitor was of the same race and ethnicity or a different one, can you imagine when the janitor goes to the super or the building supervisor and says, hey man, listen, I was just down in the pool room. I'm worried about that room, man. There's concrete falling. I can see the rebar. I think we need to have somebody come out and take a look at it. What would the narcissist say? It's just a janitor. You're just a janitor. What do you know? You're just a janitor. You don't know anything about engineering. You're just a janitor, right? Now, this is me making up a story and responding to it, something I accused someone else of earlier this week. Okay. But I'm openly acknowledging that's what I'm doing. I'm giving you a hypothetical scenario and responding to that hypothetical scenario. But I guarantee you it's actually true. The janitor who's just a janitor, right? Take the trash out and be quiet, right? Sends up the red flag of warning. You ignore the janitor because it's the janitor, right? You see what I mean? Everybody sent up the red flags regarding this building. It was a combination of being ignored and a lot of fights and argument over money. So from what I've read, many members of the board, the condo board, had quit because they were tired of fighting over the cost of the repairs of the building, things of that nature. They got lots of different proposals, but I think one proposal was like $15 million. They said that was too high. So there was a lot of infighting. And I think the condo industry is going to take a hit regarding this because for the first time, people realize that you're living in a building that's really owned and managed by private people. So you are literally relying on the goodwill and good sense of all of your neighbors to keep you safe in a structure that you probably know nothing about. You're not engineers. You're not an engineer. Or even if there's just one engineer on the board, you're not all engineers, but you're sitting here making decisions about roofs and concrete and parking decks. And you're literally probably a 70 or 80-year-old retiree. Not that 70 and 80-year-old retirees can't have input and insight, but what I'm saying is you're not an engineer. You're probably not a retired engineer is what I'm saying. These are regular people who lived regular lives with regular careers, wanted to retire on the beach, and wanted to be on their condo association board to help out with the community for the building that they love so much. You see what I'm saying? They're not structural engineers, mechanics, physicists, none of that. So it's going to make people think twice about this whole condo management thing. All right. So I have a video to show you. Someone in a neighboring hotel was awakened by the sound, I guess, of the concrete starting to snap. And this video has surfaced on social media this week of water gushing into the garage moments before the building came down. So it's not graphic. It's just sad because you know what's getting ready to happen. Actually, I take that back. This video, I think, cuts to the before and then immediately after, but nothing, other than the horrific sight of the wreck, there's nothing really, really bad to see. Okay. So let me just show you real quick. Maybe. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so there's that video. So I have a theory, you guys. I really do. I think the pool broke. I think what happened was they already said, oh, thank you for the super chat, Limes. I appreciate it. It says, hey, PTE, this is the reason I follow you. We hold the same belief that narcissism is at the center of 95% of our problems in this world, sad world. Same kind of problem, different context. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Like, the end result of narcissism is things like this. And I think this is probably the most extreme example we've ever seen of that. Like, I think as we start to hear more and more stories come out regarding this incident, you will see it laid bare. Like, I read one story that they said they made one member of the condo association, the board's life miserable because this one woman was always fighting for different things and trying to fight for repairs and push for maintenance. and it was irritating them. It was getting on their nerves, basically, allegedly. Okay. But y'all, I think the pool broke. So they said that the slab underneath the pool was already holding water. And I think basically what happened is the pool broke. The weight of the water took out the deck, I guess, one of the decks, and it just started a chain reaction. So I basically think the bottom of the pool just busted out, basically. And to me, that kind of aligns with the one report of the woman who called her husband and said that there's a hole where the pool used to be. I think the bottom of the pool fell out, it caved in. The weight of all that water took out one of the parking decks, which probably took out a column, which probably took out another column, and it just started a chain reaction. That's what I think. How very sad and frightening and scary. Like, I'm permanently shook. I don't think I'll ever be able to set foot in one of these buildings again. And that's horrible. Like, life shouldn't be like that, because I'm going to have to go into one of these buildings again at some point in my life. But I think a contributing factor to this, as many people were saying, is that salt water and that salt air. It's like it just corrodes these buildings. It corrodes them, basically. Now, stories are starting to come out of here. It says the developers of the doomed Florida tower were once accused of paying off officials. You don't say. Like, I'm sure the stories that are going to come out of this are absolutely insane. I think I'm just going to play this instead of reading it. Let's see. Ooh. Oh wait, never mind. Never mind. It's not a thing. It's not a listicle. The developers of the Miami condo tower that collapsed were once accused of paying off local officials to get permits for the site, which needed $15 million in repairs just to bring it to code, a new report says. Building rivals claimed that the partners behind Surfside Champlain Tower South were receiving preferential treatment when it came to getting through the permit system as the site was being built in 1981. Surfside's developers had contributed to the campaigns of at least, we've got to stop this. This has to end in our country. Surfside's developers had contributed to the campaigns of at least 2 town council members, then demanded that the donations be returned when the allegations surfaced, according to the outlet. Meanwhile, the 12-story tower had been on the verge of undergoing $15 million in renovations to pass the required 40-year certification when it collapsed Thursday, okay? What? Oh, man. It says all of the principals believed to have been involved in the design and construction of the building are already dead. So in other words, the people who put this up are all already, they've already gone on to the great beyond. So you see how narcissists leave catastrophe in their wake? They did all this, shady stuff behind closed doors to get the building up. And now you ran and died and checked out of here before you could be held accountable for it. That's how a lot of narcs are. A lot of narcs leave people holding the bag, ultimately. God, that is so crazy looking. Like, I just look at the pile and I just can't process it fully. Like, my brain just cannot wrap around it. I don't get how it fell so perfectly. That's one of the things that I'm struggling with. How did it fall so perfect? Anyway, at risk of doing that other video. And then 2 more updates. We're not going to read these. I just wanted to let you know the condo board hired a crisis PR firm to deal with all the inquiries and stuff coming in from this afterward. But then today it was reported. Wait, sorry. Yeah. Here, let's do that. The judge ordered the board into a receivership. So what that basically means is the judge has ordered the board to turn over the control of everything to outside third parties. And the reasoning behind it was, right, we'll find fault later, right now, just go tend to everything that's going on. Like, in other words, the same people who are responsible for the decision making regarding the maintenance of this building probably can't make very good decisions right now regarding what happens next, because one of them is missing. Excuse me. One of them is missing. One member of the board is still missing, and the rest all lost their homes, which I find interesting. It seems that almost everyone, almost all of the board members seem to have lived on this side. Now, I could be wrong about that, but everything that I've read has basically said, here we go. It says, every living and accounted for board member was present. There was one board member who remains regrettably unaccounted for as a result of the collapse of the tower. So basically, all the board members survived. Well, we don't know if the other board member is not with us anymore, but all the other board members lived. How very interesting. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but I guess they lived over here. They lived on the left side, and the one board member who's missing lived on this side. And I wonder if it's the board member who was making the most noise about the repairs. I wonder. I don't know, but I do wonder. But a judge has ordered them to turn over the control of the board to an outside third party who's not vested in this event. Okay. And then finally, the chief building official of Surfside, Florida, had worked in at least 6 other South Florida cities. And he said that the tower seemed like it was in good shape. And this wasn't his first collapse. So in other words, the building inspector for Surfside told them that the building was in pretty good shape, and that has been reported out. But this isn't the first building that he's inspected that collapsed. It's the second one. Okay, so the Biscayne Kennel Club in Miami Shores, Florida, collapsed in 1977. The city inspector there later became the chief building official of Surfside, Florida. So you see, when we talk about systemic issues, this is kind of exactly what we mean. This is systemic. This is a systemic issue. A man who oversaw the collapse of a kennel club in Miami Shores in 97 goes on to become the chief building official of Surfside, Florida, the same Surfside that just had a 12-story condo collapse on its residents in the middle of the night. So when we talk about systemic issues, this is what we mean. This is what we mean. The system of pushing along people who are truly unqualified to make decisions for everybody that negatively impacts somebody, you see? So that's everything, you guys, for the update on the collapse. Obviously, I'll be keeping an eye on this and updating you guys accordingly. If you are interested in the physics and the mechanics of this, there's a very good channel on YouTube, and I love their name. I love channel names like this, but his channel name is Building Integrity. It has 2 meanings. Do you get it? Building integrity, get it? Has 2 meanings, noun, verb, adjective. I don't know. Adjective, noun, I don't know. But it has a dual meaning, and I love it. But his channel name is Building Integrity. And the video that I would like for you to see is, can apathy bring down a building? It's a 2-part video. My answer to that question is yes. And I would swap that word out for narcissism. Can narcissism bring down a building? Yes. Yes, it can. And it just did. And one more thing, I swear, and I'll move on, guys, I promise. I'm so tired of hearing people say, buildings don't fall in America. This is a third world phenomenon. This doesn't happen here. Buildings don't fall in America. Yes, they do. One just did. The more you repeat that and keep soothing yourself with that lie, it makes it more likely that you won't take the necessary action to make sure that this never happens again. When you keep telling yourself, this doesn't happen here, this doesn't happen here, this doesn't happen here, it just did. So now we have to figure out the how and the why that it happened so it doesn't happen again. It's kind of like when a crime happens in someone's neighborhood. Let's say there's a string of car break-ins, right? And then the neighbors come out and go, well, this doesn't happen here. This doesn't happen here. We don't have break-ins here. Yes, you do. You just did. So now what are you going to do to try to make it less likely? You can't control everything. But what can you do? Maybe you can start locking your doors. A lot of people don't lock their car doors at night because that doesn't happen there. People don't break into cars in their neighborhood, so they don't lock their car doors. You see? That's like saying, well, I've never been in a car accident, so I don't wear a seatbelt. I don't need a seatbelt. I've never been in a car accident before. It's the same line of logic. Exactly. It says it's such a quiet neighborhood. This doesn't happen here. Exactly. This is a quiet neighborhood. This doesn't happen here. It just did. It hadn't happened there before, but it just did. Y'all, buildings are falling down all over the place, okay? Another one collapsed in Washington, D.C. yesterday. It left several people injured amid a storm. Firefighters were able to rescue a man from the rubble, and he was stuck down there for an hour and a half, which is kind of creepy. So this is a 5-story building, and he was stuck. This building was under construction. Let's see if this is the actual story. Let's see. I don't think it is. Nope. It's my favorite. Y'all know how I feel about these things. Ugh. Let's go on to this one so you can see the actual collapse. So this is the building that collapsed. It doesn't even look 5 stories. I think it's crazy how visually it doesn't look like a 5-story building, but I guess it is. But they actually got it on video. It was on somebody's security cam video. So I'm going to play it and just watch closely, okay? Just fell. And a fire truck just so happened to be there. Just fell on over. Okay. So luckily, this building was not occupied except for the workers. Luckily, nobody lost their lives. People were injured in this. And again, that construction worker was trapped, but they were able to free him. But y'all, what's going on? Why are all these buildings falling apart all over the place all of a sudden? Now, what's interesting is the news, it's even right here it's in this headline. It says Washington, D.C. building collapse leaves several injured amid storm. Firefighters rescue man from rubble. But do y'all see a storm? I don't see a storm. It looks like a clear, sunny day to me. So maybe that was just a piece of information that got misreported or something. Let me see if they repeat that in the story. No, actually. Wait a minute. I think I got the wrong. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, no. See, hold on, y'all. Wait a sec. I'm sorry. I got the wrong video, y'all. Wrong video. I'm sorry. This is a different video from a different day. Okay. Oh, that's why it's so important to do your research before you come online. But a building did collapse in Washington, D.C. yesterday. See, where is it? Published 1 day ago. Okay. So it must have been storming when it happened. So I knew they looked different. I thought they looked different. I was like, man, that doesn't look like the same building, but I guess it's a different angle. I'm so slow. Y'all forgive me, but at least I call my mistakes out when I make them. Yes. I don't double down and pretend like it's your fault that you were looking at the wrong screen. Yeah. But a 5-story building in Washington, D.C. did indeed collapse yesterday. So let me see. Did anyone catch it on video? No, it doesn't look like it. Well, there you go. So this was the building that was going up. Oh, it was a tornado warning in DC last night. Yeah. See, I'll be careful out here. I don't know what's going on. These collapses are weird to me because I understand the spirit of what people are trying to say when they say this doesn't happen here. I get it. What they're trying to say is we've never seen this happen before, and neither have I. So I'm just as concerned as everyone else. We got buildings just falling down. Let's move on, okay? Now, oh, I hope I got the video. Did I get the video? Yes. Okay. So the Tour de France was ruined when a spectator holding a sign stepped out into the pathway of the bicyclists, causing them to crash and obtain several injuries. But the story doesn't stop there. So after this happened, this particular person fled the country. Okay. It says a spectator. Here we go. Here, let me show you the video first.
What's going to happen? How many people are going to get back up? Right, that sign right there, left of your picture. Oh my goodness me. What's going to happen? How many people are going to get back up? Right, that sign right there, left of your picture. Oh my goodness me. What's going to happen? How many people?
So, that was pretty bad. Let's read about it a little bit. It says a spectator at the Tour de France who caused a massive crash involving dozens of cyclists is missing as race authorities plan to sue her. Tour de France Deputy Director Pierre-Yves Thouault told the AFP news agency they plan to sue the woman so that the tiny minority of people who do this don't spoil the show for everyone. However, French publication, was that West France, reported the woman, who's believed to be German, got on a flight and is untraceable. Video shows the woman, who held a long banner on the sidelines of the race, stick the banner out a little too far, causing German cyclist Tony Martin to bike right into it. Martin fell, setting off a domino effect for competitors as cyclists behind him also fell. And then it says the sign was a hello message for the woman's grandparents. She appeared to hold the sign out so it was in the view of cameras, but it blocked part of the road. And then I thought that I'd read something. It says the crash caused by the sign was just the first of an opening day. Okay. It talks about some other crashes that day. Well, anyway, she hopped on a plane and fled the country, right? But they found her. So the woman who allegedly caused the crash has been arrested. I'm not laughing because this is really, luckily no one got severely injured, but like, why would you run? Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? The woman who allegedly held out a banner causing the crash of dozens of cyclists during the first stage of the Tour de France has been identified and is undergoing police questioning. Let's see here. It's not evident what she meant to, oh wait, they just told us. Go grandma and grandpa. Let me see here. I'm just trying to see if they said what happened. Oh, it says the woman could face up to 2 years in prison and a fine of $35,000, according to the prosecutor's office. That sucks. How you go somewhere on vacation to have a great time, to watch the Tour de France and walk away with a potential 2 years in prison and $35,000 in charges. Just asking. What a way to mess up your weekend. I'm surprised nobody like tapped her on the shoulder though. Like, hey, back up. Like, scoot back. Hey, move back. Like, why are they allowed to be this close to the road? Why is that? Why is this even allowed? To me, that would seem like it shouldn't be allowed.
Get back up. Right, that sign right there, left of your picture. Oh my goodness me.
Shouldn't y'all have like at least 10 to 20 feet of clearance between the cyclists and the people? So anyway, that happened. I was just kind of tickled at the fact that she fled the country. Like, so you're a fugitive now? Really? Like, but they found her. So hopefully all the cyclists get better. Hopefully they have no long-term damage, and everybody is able to compete again someday. All right. So in political news, you guys, I thought this was very interesting. This happened in New York, and any of my New York viewers can chime in. But apparently, there is a mayoral race going on right now that they falsely called too early, and they had to rescind the official results. And I think the competitor is in the lead now, if I'm not mistaken, right? It says New York City's Democratic mayoral primary was thrust into chaos on Tuesday night after the city's Board of Elections released, then withdrew a new tally of votes after saying it accidentally included 135,000 test ballots in its preliminary figures. The problem came just hours after officials released preliminary results from the state's new ranked choice voting system, which showed the race between Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, former Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia, and civil rights attorney Maya Wiley narrowing significantly. Adams has held a large lead after the state's primary night, but the results were expected to take weeks to firm up. The city's Board of Elections said Tuesday night it was aware of a discrepancy in the unofficial results and that it was working with technical staff to figure out how it occurred. The board later said it inadvertently included the dummy ballots from a mandatory pre-qualification testing in its count released earlier in the day. Officials said the board had removed the test ballots from the counting system and would retabulate the correct ones. Man, how are people ever supposed to trust you guys? Because when I had first heard about it, the guy was pulling out ahead and people were like really happy that he was winning. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, sorry, we had 135,000 fake ballots. Like, how are people ever supposed to trust this? It says this is his tweet. Earlier today, the Board of Elections released a ranked choice voting simulation based on last week's election results that they have since acknowledged include discrepancies. We are waiting for an explanation, still confident in our lead. Keep the faith, Team Adams. I have a question. Why is voting so hard? Why is it so hard to keep count? We can't assign a unique serial number to each vote. And like, you're aware of your vote's serial number. Like, is it really that hard? Like, I feel like you could do this on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm so serious. Like, it seems like the simplest of things. Like, we can't set this up on SurveyMonkey. You see what I'm saying? I'm joking about SurveyMonkey, who is changing their name, by the way, to, oh, I forgot what they changed their name to. But they probably didn't want to deal with the smoke of having the word monkey in their name. So they changed it to something else, but I just forgot. But yeah, like, is it really this hard? One vote for one person. We all have, well, for the most part, all of us have social security numbers, right? So, I mean, it's not, we can't do one-to-one mapping. I don't understand all this tabulation and special computers and algorithms. I don't get it. Like, it's one-to-one mapping, isn't it? Exactly. It says that's how corruption happens. People have different ideas of how to count ballots. Exactly. Like, I feel like we could give this to a kindergarten class and they could pull it off. You know, just involve gold stars, count the stack. Yeah, put that mark wherever you see that word, you put that mark right there. Perfect. Excellent. Here's your gold star. Like, is it hard? It's that hard. I don't get it. I really don't. And I almost feel, I understand that your vote is private. It's a private thing, but I almost feel like, and I know whether or not you voted is public record, but I seriously almost feel like there needs to be a database of your votes that you can go pull up anytime. Like, you can just go put your unique voter number in there, your social, and pull up any votes that you've done over your lifetime. You know what I mean? Again, Excel spreadsheet would solve a lot of problems for you guys. Lots of problems. All right. So guys, this heat wave, there's a heat wave moving through the country, really, the whole country being like North America, which includes Canada. And in Canada is sparking wildfires, and cities are burning all the way to the ground. Well, not cities. One village has burned all the way down to the ground. Let's take a quick look at this video. Maybe. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, video's not cooperating, so we'll just leave that. But it says the Canadian village that set an all-time national heat record this week has been devastated by fast-moving wildfire that engulfed the small town within minutes following an intense heat wave, officials said Thursday. 2 people have died from the fire. I'll just mute you. 2 people have died from the fire that devastated the small Canadian village of Lytton, the British Columbia Coroner Service said on Friday, and they're still searching for some missing residents. So this is getting really serious, you guys. And look at this. That's the village that got wiped out by that fire. Here in the States, it's my understanding that in certain states, it's so hot and it's putting such a strain on the power grid that they are cutting off people's electricity to reduce the stress on the grid. So they're cutting off people's electricity in the middle of this heat wave. Like, we already talked about the Texas Power Company that was raising people's thermostats if they had a smart thermostat, and they opted into that program. So this is getting serious, you guys. And then there's other parts of the country that don't have AC. I don't know who I was watching on YouTube yesterday, and they were saying that, you know, they're miserable and they're really struggling because their house doesn't have AC because they've never needed it before. I'm like, honey, I would die from the humidity. But apparently it never gets hot enough to actually need AC. So a lot of buildings and structures and homes have been built without them. Yeah, places are buckling. The roads are buckling from heat. So the concrete is just buckling because it's so hot. Y'all, our country is so old, man. It's like they built it once. Let's see if this video will work. They built it once and that was good enough. So this is in Canada. Good luck, Canada. All right. And good luck to all of y'all who are sitting sweltering right now in this heat wave. All right. Let's close out this news break with something kind of funny. We've had a lot of heavy stories this news break. Lots of stuff going on right now. So let's close out with something that actually really, really made me laugh really hard. And I hope it makes you laugh too. And we'll go ahead and close our news break, okay? It says UK neighbors cut tree in half over bird poop dispute. We were absolutely distraught. It says, when words fail, sometimes you just have to cut down half a tree. At least that's what one couple did. The couple in Sheffield, UK, called in an arborist to cut down half of the branches of a 16-foot tall fir tree that were hanging over their driveway, according to reports. The rest of the tree is in their neighbor's yard. Their neighbor, Bharat Mistry, told SWNS that the tree has been in his front yard for 25 years. However, during the lockdown last March, the neighbors reportedly asked him to have the tree removed. More recent, the neighbors complained about the birds in the tree making too much noise and pooping on their driveway. So Mistry told SWNS that he tried to work on a solution. We asked if we could get it trimmed back and put a net in it so it would stop the birds from getting in, but there was no compromise with them. Last weekend, I can't. This tree This half a tree, I can't take it, y'all. Last weekend, he said he was going to get a tree surgeon to cut it down. And he asked him not to, but they came on Friday and did it. It says Mystery told the BBC that he and his family, including his wife and 2 daughters, were angry when it first happened, but they've since calmed down a bit. We were absolutely distraught. We pleaded and pleaded with them not to do it, but their mind was made up. The tree was coming down. I believe he has a right to cut down anything that's hanging onto his property, but you have to ask, after 25 years, why would you do that? It says it's really sad to look at because the tree has been there for so long. It really was a pretty tree. We never had any issues like this before this. We used to get along just fine. So yeah. So anyway, 2 neighbors couldn't reach an agreement. I think it's the level of pettiness for me. It's the pettiness level for me. And it just tells everybody driving by, we got beef. You know what I'm saying? It's going to grow back though, because that's what trees do. If they're alive, it will grow back. It's just so strange looking to me. It's kind of messed up, and I don't know whose side I'm on, you guys, because on the one hand, like, look at his driveway setup. Like, I have several questions. Like, was the tree there when they both moved in? Was this a tree that the neighbors planted after they had moved in? You know what I mean? Like, I have many questions. I imagine he did not enjoy bird poop all over his car and driveway every single morning. But what are you going to, you can't evict birds. I mean, I guess theoretically you can, but I don't know. I don't know whose side I'm on here, you guys. Like, did he move in with the tree like that? Why wait 25 years? Like, is this a new bird colony? I don't know. But I will say I am happy to see that some compromise was made and he did leave them 1/2 of a tree. It was a pretty tree. It really was. Here's a before down here. What a weird, I don't know. Like, I wonder what I think a court would ask the same questions I'm asking. Was this tree here before y'all moved in? If not, who planted it? You know what I mean? Like, what a weird issue. God, you just never know what you're going to get into with your neighbors. It's usually super random and super weird. But anyway, you guys, it's been fun catching up with you guys for the week. I always enjoy doing this. It is very, very fun for me. Very, very fun. One of my favorite times of the week. I will be keeping an eye on this whole collapse situation. And I do plan on doing a different show on my other channel, probably tomorrow, regarding that, just to get out some deeper thoughts. So, yeah. But anyway, good to see you all again. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Happy 4th to those of you who are celebrating. Be safe with those fireworks, for the love of God. Be careful, okay? And we'll talk again soon, all right? Bye.